All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. We got a couple shout-outs we need to do. We got a Trevor Wentz. And what was the first name of Sheffield? I remember. Brian Sheffield. Thank you guys for, apparently you guys did a good job of commenting. However, you forgot to fill in the stars.
They might have. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, so we're not going to get on to you too hard yet. But we might, so, all right. But no, anyhow, we want to just say thank you to everyone who is doing all the reviews and people who have been sharing this with other people, because the podcast continues to grow. And it kind of surprises me, although it doesn't surprise me, that Warren's head has grown even more, because someone made the comment that his going off topic was like their favorite part.
You do realize that the reason you just said that just puts it back in his head that he's going to keep doing it. That's
I told you we're adding that segment.
Oh, no, we're not adding a segment to Warren's head.
It has nothing to do with my head. If the
wacky facts.
The people
okay.
have spoken and they enjoy.
The people have spoken.
They enjoy. We have to provide for them what they want.
Okay. All right.
This isn't about us. This is about them.
Okay. Well, today
it's a democracy.
Unlike
top North Korea.
My two special guests that are here every week, which was my two boys that ride the short bus.
David Jong-un.
You produced us, so what's that say about you? Apple doesn't fall far from the tree there.
Well, I'm going to talk to your mama, because I'm quite certain that this ain't all me.
I don't know if we can use that one.
But we do have a special guest here today. Eddie Diaz has come all the way from the East Coast, from Jersey,
yes, sir,
to visit us, and he's got a shirt on that kind of telltales what's going on in his life, which I think is pretty cool. Dumbbells, deadlifts, and diapers, because he is about to become a dad.
Pretty excited about that.
But yeah, you should be.
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome to Iowa. Welcome to the Raised Hunting Podcast. Glad to have you here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Eddie is a big hunter, and he's an instructor for Raised to Full Draw, and that's why he's been out here this week. We had really good camp, 57 kids. We had overload, so good time though. But and then we might get out and do a little fishing here later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are we going to talk about today? As far as specifically, Warren said it's East Coast versus Midwest. Oh yeah, so
straight.
Your gangster symbols you think are going to go?
Is that the M?
It's an M, yeah.
For what?
Then
Midwest?
Midwest.
Wait, why don't you just do this? Then you could do both.
You just do it like that.
Is that backwards for you guys? There, Midwest.
Just simple.
Isn't that an actual one?
The East Coast one is easy.
I don't know.
That's how we roll right there. So that's
that
for
goes,
everything.
that goes right in line with my my off-topic tip for today.
Which is not
even a tip. It's just an interesting fact.
You named it wacky tips.
Warren's
Warren's
wacky tips. Yes. Do you think that you're creative?
Of course I am.
I would beg to differ. Do you know where New Jersey got its name?
No.
From England.
Okay.
So you guys went from New England and you just went New Jersey.
Where's the
I got it. I'm gonna have to double check that for.
Hold
right
on.
Here.
I feel like that's extremely obvious that England would have named it.
You also know that I'm also born and raised in New
Jersey.
York, so I'm a New Yorker. Let me ask you this: where did Iowa get its name?
Why do you guys all do New over there?
Oh yeah, where did Iowa get its name?
New York, New Jersey, New England.
Dude,
we're actually probably one of the oldest cities ever.
Was it because
America.
it was new? Well, yeah. At that time,
actually,
it was new, though.
Yeah.
Now it maybe needs to be Old Jersey and Old York.
That I'm going to have to look up.
Huh?
That I'm going to have to look up.
Well, I'm just asking.
But I think that was a little before my time, so I can't be responsible for naming of something.
Going off of your fact from last week, that was not even close.
That was horrible.
Because it was
really
relative?
Bad. No, because it wasn't even that great of a fact. Like, oh man, wouldn't have ever imagined that England would have named some of the states in the eastern part of the country.
Okay, well maybe you should do Warren's wacky tips next time.
Facts. You can't even get your own segment right.
No, it was tips. Go back and listen.
All right. Let's move on because that was not beneficial whatsoever.
That was not the most. Half of that's what I was talking about. Half of this sucker is never beneficial.
The bird one was funny. I'll give him that.
All right.
I forgot it though, so obviously it wasn't that good.
It was a live bird.
A live bird. That's what it was.
All right. So let's talk about whitetail deer a little bit. Eddie, we did a little driving around checking on some stuff yesterday, and we were talking, and it's just that lull time. right? I mean, you're starting. I know you were showing me some trail camera photos, and all of us are starting to get that, like, ooh, look at this one. He's got this much antler, or it's this big around. But when do you guys really get started out there? Like, when do you really feel like that your trail cameras and stuff start lighting up?
Well, I think a lot of guys by me don't do a lot of prep. A lot of New York, New Jersey guys, I think I probably would say the majority are just wait till hunter season. They have their stand. They might go check on it. But for me, I'm there all year round.
Right.
I didn't want to start too early this year because, nothing really happens for a couple of months. But right. I did have a couple of deer that I wanted to see if they were still alive.
What's considered too early? You already got your cameras out.
I know. And I think that might have been a little too early because I've been getting little nubs on everybody. Last year I was even earlier. So
what time did you start last year? February?
Yeah, I had my cameras out. Some of my friends keep their cameras out all year long, especially now with cell cams. They keep them. They just keep them out all year long.
I've been out all year long.
Yeah,
so when did you put them out last year? Then May.
Yeah, I had them early.
Okay.
So this year I had 2 out in March, just in Big Boy area where I have that big deer. I wanted to see if he was still alive, but no one knows where he is. He's a secret. But I still have a bunch of cameras that I'm not going to put out until I get back toward the end of June.
You say he's a secret and you post him on your social media?
No.
He was on your Facebook.
Yeah, one time, people don't know where he is.
God,
people don't know where he is.
You, don't they?
No, it's not like that by me.
It's not
like that by me.
I would think it'd be more so because it's more rare.
Too many people.
No, yeah, it's not like that. People, like, you guys know everyone. You know your neighbors. You know who hunts their property. It's not like that. I think the majority of people who hunt, especially the fact that it's not private property, no one knows.
It must be way different.
Yeah, that's even more of a reason for me not to say
no one
anything.
No one knows necessarily where I live. So
right.
So it's a little different. But
you got so we were back at we were in Pennsylvania for the what is it now referred to? It's not the Harrisburg show. It's the Great American
Outdoor Show.
Outdoor show. 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. And when we were back there, people were coming up and showing us pictures, and like trail camera photos and deer they'd killed. And New Jersey was one of them, but Maryland surprised me. Maryland's got some really good deer, and then
it was
Delaware.
Yeah,
Delaware for as small as Delaware is, we kept having guys come up and say, "Yeah, I killed this one in Delaware." And
there's thick hardwoods down there,
and they were not like 140-inch deer, 50-inch deer. They were 170, 180-inch deer.
Big bucks.
Yeah, they were monsters.
That's weird. I didn't know that.
But they also, if I remember right, they were telling us that it was like it's one buck over there, or they have a lot of limited.
In Jersey or in Delaware?
In Delaware.
In Delaware. Well, I hunted Delaware, I believe 2 years ago, and I've seen some of their state land, and it's really thick, and it goes for miles and miles and miles. So there's definitely a big buck back there. It's just if you could get back there.
But you can get a tag as a non-resident.
Yeah, it's over the counter.
How many states do you hunt? Because you live where you can access several.
Yeah, so usually I spend most of my time in New Jersey, but I do hunt Pennsylvania a lot, as well as occasionally upstate New York, and then a Delaware or Virginia once in a while, which is a different type of hunting down there.
Yep.
So, and the deer are big. Virginia, Maryland have some big deer.
Yeah, they didn't years ago, but it's all changed. I mean, not all of it's changed, but a lot of it has changed. A lot of states have found Iowa seemed to be one of the forefront leaders in that if you have quality rather than quantity, it works. And they've learned that, and I think that's one reason why our tag is so high and it's so sought after that you got to draw it. And so a lot of states have followed in suit with point restrictions or width restrictions or a combination of both, and then hunt clubs and stuff like that are doing the same thing to manage their deer to get to the age structure, to hopefully get their deer a little older. And it's paying off across the nation. I mean, are
they doing that over there though?
Oh yeah,
are they doing that around you guys?
I don't know about in New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're doing that by me.
PA is for sure. They're one of the big ones.
Like a point restriction or what?
They went to a point restriction that was.
When did they do that?
Well, New York. I know New York, upstate New York has done that several years ago. So you have to have at least 3 points on one side.
Right.
So that's helped upstate New York because when I was younger, I would hunt
one side though.
What?
Like 3 points on each side, or just one side?
On one side. So let's say it was a 3, and then it could be a spike as long as it's that. But when I started hunting, let's say when I was 14, 30 years ago with my dad, there wasn't any. So you could go upstate New York, and there's so much dense woods, and especially in the Catskill Mountains where I hunt, that you could literally spend a week in a tree stand and never see a deer.
Found your deer.
Literally never see a thing.
Found his deer.
What do you mean?
In the Catskill Mountains.
He said when he was a kid.
Oh, dang it.
Oh, when I was a kid.
Like so much for nobody not knowing.
So you'd go up there, and we'd go up during shotgun or go up early, and it's just, so people say if you go upstate New York and you see a 6-pointer, it's a trophy, because you might never see another deer again. An 8-pointer is great. So, but since they've done the antler restriction, they say now they're seeing bigger and bigger deer, because guys would go up there and, when I was younger, if we saw a 4-pointer, you shoot it.
Right.
You see a spike, you shoot it. Now they're not allowed to do that.
Well, that was when I lived in Virginia. As I was growing up, same thing. I mean, it was pretty much shoot any buck you saw.
Anything.
And I won't say that it was. I don't know if it was common not to see a deer. I mean, it would happen more than it does living out here or in Montana for sure. Or even when I moved to Arkansas, the deer density was more. But it wasn't uncommon to go hunting a day and not see a deer at all. You could have that happen pretty regularly. And if you were a guy like holding off for a decent sized buck, you had a good chance of eating a tag. I mean, it wasn't like they existed everywhere. That's hence the reason. I mean, my comment to my wife years ago was, all I want to do is see a Pope and young deer. I mean, and I was in my 20s when I said that to her.
I'm still waiting.
No, you've seen one while hunting.
Still waiting.
Maybe to kill one, but I just wanted to see one. Yeah. I had never seen what I truly could say that I thought was, which I probably couldn't have scored it very well in either. I probably might have seen one and didn't know it, but I didn't see anything that was like way over, 125 inches. And so it's just a whole different ball game as you move around the country. Everyone's hunting it's just different, whether it's hunting down south and you're hunting swampland and things like that. You guys have a little bit of both. I mean, I don't know about right in New Jersey, but I know like Maryland, you can get into some of the where the Chesapeake Bay comes in, and it's totally different but then parts of Maryland are mountainous and like West Virginia. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool,
One of the things that I definitely noticed, it's a difference in hunting culture. So I started bow hunting again when I was 30. So, I'm 47, been a long time. The last 5 years I've been out here. The first time was, 5 years ago I came out here. I had 12 years of bow hunting before I came out here. Where I am, no one talks about numbers. No one. I didn't even know what it meant to be 130, 140 inch deer. No one even ever says, when people show deer, they don't talk about numbers. When I come out here, it's a lot more focus on this age class, this age class, this age class. Guys where I am are just
8 point.
I shot a buck. I shot a buck. That's it.
Right.
They're just happy that they don't care what size it is. And that's probably one of the reasons we don't have those upper age class deer, because guys aren't letting them live that long.
Well, it's probably partly like if it's, I mean, I don't think you'd hear people near as focused on the age or the size of them here if they weren't that big, because you get to a certain point where, a buck's a buck, but then when you get to like 150-inch deer, that's a bigger buck. Then you get to 190-inch deer, and that's a really big buck. There's all these different classifications of it. I think I don't know enough about the East Coast, but from what I've seen, as far as just from other people and some of the deer you've shown me, I think that you guys, the genetics of your deer are not all that far off of what we have
there.
here.
I agree. They're getting there.
Well, that deer that you've got, your big boy, I really think that deer was pushing 180 last year.
But he's definitely not the norm. He's definitely an anomaly.
That is what I'm saying is if you guys had the same one, you never will, because you have so many more people and so many more hunters, and it sounds like I think you guys have a lot more public than we do too, where land here is a lot more controlled. That your guys' deer, if they were able to get to the same age structure that ours are, that I don't know if your guys' quality would be that much different.
I think genetics I think the biggest difference is not necessarily mainframe size. It's either tine length or mass. I think that's one of the biggest differences, because you've seen deer I showed, even that one I showed you today, size-wise, it was 23, could have been 24 inches wide, but it was pencil thin. So it's just,
was he 2? Or
but I think the genetics are different. In terms of,
for sure.
Yeah, in terms of mass-wise, you're heavy. But even body-wise, your deer are heavier.
140, 150-pound dressed deer is huge.
How old are those deer, though?
Granted that they're probably only 3 years old. I don't think you're killing many 5-year-old deer back there because they just don't have an opportunity to make it.
Well, there's not a lot of our 3-year-olds that are going to weigh more than 150 dressed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you
think? So what we get
3-year-olds dressed here?
I'm pretty sure mine was quite a ways over that. He was
147,
170, wasn't he?
yeah, as a 3-year-old.
That one was 170.
I'd have to go back and
140
look.
or 170?
It was 140.
I think
Well, it might have been, but you're also talking about the end of the
Late,
rut and the winter. I mean, we were almost to December.
No, I don't
was
think
worn
a
down.
lot of our 3-year-olds, I think, are still going over that pretty easily.
I don't know.
Look,
Well-
man, I'm a pretty experienced 3-year-old killer, and I'm telling you right now that I think that they are bigger than that. At least from the deer that I've seen when I'm traveling through those places, they don't even look. They just you trap from us to there. I mean, you drive 10 hours and you're in a different enough area that you can tell. Back home, they're way bigger. The bodies are just. Even the does look way bigger.
But
I just wonder if it's a different age structure.
I don't know.
I think one of the biggest differences in terms of deer is also
That's actually not. It's subspecies too.
yeah.
There's like
For
4 or
sure.
5 different subspecies
17.
of whitetails.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's 17.
subspecies.
Well, there you
of
go. I was
whitetail.
way under, but I know that theirs is a completely multiple different little ones.
The plains whitetail
but like
is the
compared
biggest.
to Montana, I think they have potential for bigger deer than Montana. Like, sure, those deer do get a lot of them get to the age class, and they just top out at 140, 135. Like, that's as big as they get.
Pennsylvania, which is right next to us, has a tremendous amount of deer. That's why right over the bridge, boom, it's a different type of deer. Those are big. But I think one of the things that hurts New Jersey also is the fact that the tag is over the counter. You do have that dense population of Staten Island, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx. You have New York City, which is 20, 30 million people. And there are a lot of hunters in the city.
Well, hold on, because now you just brought up an idea. All those huge deer that you send us all the time, where are those ones?
Those are in Staten Island. They swam.
Parks,
they
too.
swam from Jersey to Staten Island. I guess they ran from the hunters, and now they're just growing. But those are abnormal deer.
And they're unhuntable. You can't.
Yeah.
hunt
There's
them.
100.
But they
but
might be a prime example of
You
the
go-
same
yeah.
deer, and just they're getting to age because those are 170, 180, 190 inch
But
deer.
my point is that since Jersey is over the counter, like I showed you today, I told them today that with the population of Staten Island being 13 miles long, it's almost 500,000 people. There are a lot of hunters in Staten Island. Where they're going? Are they going to drive 3.5 hours to the Catskill Mountains, or go right over the bridge and be able to hunt New Jersey in 30 minutes? Okay, they might only have 1 or 2 weekends a year to hunt. So when they come out, you buy a tag over the counter. Right. They go in. They're decimating public land, and anything that comes out, they shoot. So, and the number of people that do that is a lot.
Brett, who came here and hunted with us, was showing me pictures, and he lives by New York as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the state parks is incredible how big their deer are.
Upstate New York?
Just even around New York, like New York City.
He's in New York City. He's a firefighter in New York.
And he was showing me pictures and stuff of big deer. I mean, you can't hunt it.
Like,
but like 170, 180 inch deer.
Yeah, that's like
consistently.
Those ones are in Staten Island.
The ones in Staten Island are the population that you can't hunt. They have tags on the ears. All of them have been captured at one point. They've been given vasectomy so they can't reproduce, which New York City's paid over $3 million, I think almost $3 or $4 million for their vasectomy program, which it came out that it failed. It didn't work because all you need is a couple to survive to keep on going. So
did they try it again? Or
no,
I
think
why are they
stopped
doing that? Why do they care?
Because they were trying to stop the deer.
Because Staten Island is so heavily populated that the amount of deer accidents, it's just getting, because the amount of traffic, the way people are driving, there's no room for them. There are parts of Staten Island that are woodlands, but there's so many. It went from like being 900 the next couple of years. There's like 3,000-4,000. There's too many people there to be that many deer. Mm-hmm. So what they did was they paid money instead of they captured them. They had them in their hands. Instead of shipping them back to Jersey, they decided to spend money, pay a doctor X amount of money to come in and give them vasectomy so they can't reproduce, put them back on Staten Island, now with tags on their ears so they know which one's which.
So they took.
Why?
So they didn't catch the does though, right?
No.
Okay, they just
well,
did
some
the
of them
bucks.
I actually have seen some with
ear tags
with tags for whatever reason, but
you didn't go and try and get them to drop them all in your spot.
I wish. I wish.
Well, here-
but I do know a police officer, and one of the problems that's happening 3 years ago when I lived in Staten Island, one of the things that one of the officers told me that there was like 12 to 15 people that year that got caught for poaching. And they're doing it because the deer is so big that the guys are, and they're coming in people's backyard. And
Well, why don't they?
You have a 160-inch deer in your backyard, and you're driving 3.5 hours upstate New York to sit and see nothing, and he's right in your backyard. No one's around looking. These guys are tempted, and they're getting caught. And
Why wouldn't they open it up to hunting?
it's too densely populated.
That's what I was going to ask.
Both.
So
I agree. They could designate areas in the state parks on the state lands where
Yeah.
they designate stands, and
people would pay money, and that's,
Absolutely.
and that's my whole point with it. That stupid program that they came up with is the taxpayers' money. So we all paid for that to happen.
well, probably not us, but
Well,
New Yorkers.
New York, but the average person is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. Is the average person's paying taxes for them to go out and try a program that you know is going to fail because you cannot get every single buck and keep every other buck from finding out that does are in heat across the river. That's
they
all it
had
would
to
take.
had biologists tell them that wasn't going to work.
Well, some biologists must have convinced them that it was going to work.
because there are parts of, because where I was I'm right next to the bay, which leads to the Atlantic Ocean. There's parts of the area between Staten Island and New Jersey that are maybe 100 yards wide. It's not very far, and they swim that in a heartbeat. And there's people who videotape them sometimes swimming over.
Right.
So,
But it sounds like it could, with that many people, it would be hard to even shoot them with a bow, I would imagine.
it
It's
would
got to be pretty dangerous.
it would be hard, but I know there's certain programs in New Jersey that have municipal areas where they do allow a certain amount of hunters to hunt in places, and they make it a rule where if you're one of the people selected, you get put in a designated stand, and you actually have to shoot 5 does and before you're
kill a
allowed to
buck.
take 1 buck. And that's how they manage it in Jersey. They could do the same thing in New York. There's enough hunters that would apply, and even if you give us a test, give them a proficiency test in terms of our hunting knowledge and our hunting safety and our ability to shoot.
I'm glad.
I'd pay to go in a stand and do that. Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say that it's probably a conflict to most people. They wouldn't agree with me on this, but urban hunts here are the same way. So if you want to get an urban tag for, say, Polk County, which is Des Moines, it depends on the area. But one, you have to be approved. You go through like the sheriff's office, or the police department. They approve you for it. Once they approve you for it, then you can go, and as long as you kill 5 does in that season, then you're put in for a drawing for the following season for a buck tag. Now, if you want to continue that, you have to keep 5 does as your minimum. But if you are the top, if you kill the most does, it's like one of the guys I tracked for this year killed like 31 does last year, and he killed the most out of all of them. Guaranteed a tag right there, so he gets his buck tag. He's not in the drawing. He already knows he's getting one.
If we do
But
a
I
doe
think
contest, he's
that
not allowed to enter.
in my opinion, I think that where Iowa is at right now with a buck to doe ratio, I do not think. And you said that, I don't remember where you said you do it, but you have to kill your doe before you can kill your buck.
That's in New Jersey, because New Jersey declared, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, they declared like a statewide deer emergency.
Yeah.
That's why they made this, because there's so many deer in Jersey.
And I think that they should do something similar to that in Iowa, simply because your buck to, I haven't even checked now, and I don't think it's any better than what it was 5 or 10 years ago, and it's like 10 to 1, like 10 does to 1 buck.
You're
Here?
saying,
Yes.
I don't think it's that bad.
Yes, it
Well,
is.
at my
Go talk
house-
to the biologist. I had a biologist tell me that. And so 10 to 1, it's healthy is 1 to 1, if not 2 bucks to, or what is it? 2 does to 1 buck, right?
Yep.
So 1 to 1 or 1 to 2, and it's like 10 to 1 right now. So it's way out of whack.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be extremely beneficial to have something in there that, yeah, we have world-class bucks, but you got to earn it. You got to go kill a doe or 2 or something of the sorts, because I do think that would help our population. I think our hunting would be better. I'm not saying that it's not already, but I do think that you're going to have a lot better ruts. You're going to have a lot better hunting. You're going to have better quality and better healthy population if you were to do that.
Oh, I think the state would agree with you. They'd like to kill a lot more does, and they keep thinking issue more doe tags, and more people will just go kill
No,
them.
they don't.
You know, and it doesn't work that
That's-
way.
But where they do that for us, they do that in September. They don't wait until October. Come October 1st, you can shoot whatever you want.
Well,
But
see,
that's why we open September 10th or September 7th, and they have you earn a buck in September. If you want to shoot early season, You have to shoot a doe first before
They-
you can take a buck.
They somewhat attempted that with us last year, but they did it way out of whack. They opened up a high-powered rifle season because we don't have high power here. High-power rifle season for a week or week and a half, something like that, once the season was over. So January 10th, everything's out. Well, the next week you could go with a high power and shoot as many does as you could get tags for. And
just for the leftover does.
yes,
Yeah.
and so that was a good idea in theory, but now we're dealing with whatever does were bred that we're going to have fawns, whatever bucks have maybe shedded already that they're shooting and not having any clue what they're shooting, as opposed to doing that a week before season and allowing people to do that. Or like what we're talking, or what I'm saying, of doing a requirement. You have to shoot a doe or two in order to earn your buck tag.
Well, we're talking about earning. What do you think about this idea? I kind of feel like it's a little unfair, and I know our goal as hunters, we want to inspire the next generation to come and hunt and get them involved, and that's why one of the reasons we do the camp. But make the youth season that they can only shoot does. Because why should a 6-year-old be able to shoot a 182-inch deer when we have hunters that have hunted for 20 plus years and haven't got a chance to even see a deer like that? And a 6-year-old is coming out there with a 350 Legend and blasting a 182 from 200 yards away.
You just gave me a phenomenal TikTok clip.
No,
yeah, that's going to blow
Seriously, though, I agree with you.
I just don't think. Listen, and
Why-
I want to inspire them, but
Hold on,
but
before we go
too
too
many
far,
youths are
real quick,
shooting.
I have one question
They're
I
shooting
have to
such big
ask you.
deer.
Are those deer on Staten Island like tame? If there's
Some of
so
them.
many people,
Some of them, because too many people feed them.
so they get pretty
Too many
tame.
people feed them, and they'll just stand right there. You could probably walk within 6 feet of them. I have before. I've walked
Of big deer
4 or
too?
5, from really big deer, and I'll sit there and film them, and I'm like, and they just because people feed them all the time because they think they're pets.
Okay, I was just curious on that.
But
Back to what we
you
were.
would think that one of the reasons why they could not harvest them, because I lived in Buffalo for 1 year, and there was a deer problem in Buffalo, and they did what was called a bait and shoot. That I know someone who was involved. They put 1,000 pounds of corn out and had sharpshooters from police department sit 100 yards away, and then boom, 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 boom. That's how that was their idea of
getting rid of the
getting
population.
rid of the population. Well, one of the reasons that they couldn't do that in Staten
it's
Island,
like Russia with the wolves.
it was crazy because, and so many people say, well, there's so many starving people in New York. There's so many homeless people. Why not shoot that meat and then donate it? One of the reasons why they wouldn't do that is because Staten Island used to have the largest garbage dump on it in the world. It was the landfill. And since then, they closed that and they covered it up and they put dirt on it. And now there's grass growing. And any given day, you'll see 30, 40 deer on top of the landfill eating the dirt or eating the grass, which is on top of hundreds of years of garbage. And who knows how that affects their meat, and they wouldn't do it. So that's one of the reasons why I think they don't want to touch the deer because there's too many groups that would be like, well, you're just killing them to kill them. This, even from a political standpoint, there's too many people, too many groups against that humane groups that would say you can't do that. You can't just kill them to kill them because you can't even eat them.
How far is Staten Island from your place? Like, how long does it take to get there?
About 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Do you mind
So
if I
that
stay
means
with
it-
you in January?
That means it's a mile
wanna-
away.
Listen,
I'm going there every day, and I'm going to grab their antlers and pull on them every freaking day. And I will have.
Wait, are you
hunting-
allowed to shed hunt it?
yeah, absolutely. My hunting season ends, and I have friends, and I'll show you pictures of friends who shed hunt every year, and they get
Well, you better tell them, buddy.
bases
Sorry,
like this.
out of luck. I am pulling them off their heads.
Warren's going to be over there with a little hammer.
Listen,
like,
I'll put
holding
you in
it
a
like,
tree
tick,
stand.
tick,
You could hunt if you
Oh, I'm
want.
checking them every day. I'm just gonna go up to them, bring
Hey,
corn,
Frank,
and pull
you ready
and
to give
see
me
if
your
we're
antler
ready.
yet?
How awesome would that be? They're just pulling 80-incher.
Now that's a freshie right there. I can tell by the way it is.
There are a lot.
This
man.
will be perfect for TikTok. It's dripping. Okay.
I wonder
anyway.
what deer it went to.
Hey, let's see if the other one's ready. Not yet.
Let's see you tomorrow, buddy.
Yep.
I am going
Okay.
to disagree a little bit.
We're going back to the youth kids
Yes,
stuff.
and I'm going to disagree.
I'm gonna disagree
and
as
I'm,
well.
I'm going to agree and disagree. And here's my thing. I don't think taking a requirement or taking the opportunity for a young kid to harvest a deer that is a deer of a lifetime is correct. What I do understand is that the part that I have a hard time with, especially around us, a lot of our small communities when we're in school, a lot of the kids hunt. where me and Warren went to high school, all the kids, pretty much everybody hunts, okay? So out of however many kids are there, there's always a couple kids that are really, really, really young that go and harvest like 180 to 200 inch deer. And it's crazy, okay? Especially considering the fact that me personally, sitting in a stand for 11 years now just in Iowa, I can't say that I've ever seen maybe one 200 inch deer in 11 years. And these kids go out there and harvest them. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that's really, really cool. And I think that's actually, 100% I'm jealous because I'd love to do something like that. But I think it's awesome that they got to do that. Here's where I have the issue with it is because I know dang well when I was that age there's very few kids that I think that actually understand the value of what they did. And the issue with that is not because they don't necessarily understand the value of what they have done or how impressive or how cool or even how lucky it may have been, but how once in a lifetime that could be. The other part of that is that now they have nowhere to go to. Mm-hmm. We always sit here, and I refer to it all the time as every hunter is going through some form of a stage in hunting. And whether that's to harvest a certain deer in a certain way or to be able to harvest your first deer or to be able to shoot a certain size or a certain age caliber, whatever that is, these kids, when they shoot a 200-inch deer at 9 years old, and they just think it's really cool because all they can see is how big the antlers are. Well, now when the kid starts getting a little older, maybe if you're lucky, he starts to understand, okay, that was like a way out of, like that's an outlier kind of thing. And they start understanding what the size or what their goals really are.
You got to go to the goal of youth season first off. What do you think the goal of youth season is?
Is to get them
to
hooked on hunting.
And
you can't be more hooked than, I understand, you can't be more hooked than shooting a 180-inch deer your first time out. But also, where you go
I disagree.
I think that's like...
I agree with what what you were saying a minute ago.
But it hurts them.
And I disagree with the 182 because I believe that an 82-inch deer, a forked horn,
I agree.
That kid is going to be, they cannot.
But that's the majority. Most of them are. But the ones Easton's talking about are an outlier. That's 5% or less of these kids that are whacking.
But even some of the ones that
I've
seen have been tremendous.
Yeah, but
I know exactly who you're talking about.
But
and it's every year.
But even the 130s,
they have access to super good ground.
Even the 130s, 140s to me are tremendous deer. I mean, even that's a tremendous deer.
On what? On the parents?
Blame belongs on the parents.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that.
It is dad or mom or grandpa or uncle or whoever that says, whoa, don't shoot that one. There might be a bigger one come in. Hold on. I got a spot I'm going to take you to kill this really good deer. I'm going to take you and have you I got a 190-inch deer, and I want to kill this before the neighbors so we can get in there in youth season. Come on, little Johnny. Let's go shoot this deer.
That isn't even for Johnny, though. That's for the
absolutely.
parent.
That's what I think does happen sometimes. I
think sometimes, but I also think that there's a chance that they're going to sit and they have a...
when the random deer happens to walk by, but we happen
is that also fair to you guys either?
Absolutely, it is.
Absolutely.
That's why I threw it out there for you to discuss because we don't have a youth season by me. We don't have that. Not that I know of, or not that I.
But
see
I think
people
what
doing.
you're saying is that counteracts the goal of youth season. The goal of youth season is to get them, which I don't agree with making it does only. I think that the whole goal of youth season is to get kids introduced to hunting and to get them excited about it.
Or how about make them shoot a doe first?
However, I don't think that starting at the top is a very good idea. I don't think that would be putting them on a 170-inch deer, and I want them to shoot a fork and horn or a spike so that they're excited about shooting that next year or the year after or then getting a little bigger. What you're saying is dad is filling the tag with what he wants him to kill, which I don't agree with him either, necessarily saying, hey, we're going to go try and kill a 6-year-old crap buck.
That is, like, I already think that they're out of all of the youth hunters, and we're just referring to Iowa here because that's what we're around, is a very small percentage that is killing that big of deer every year. But at the same time, if you're doing it going off of that, like the dad is telling them to do that, I think that's an even smaller percentage of the kids that are killing those deer. But what I will preface that with is if you go just simply look at the TBI page, Instagram page, Trophy Bucks Iowa, okay? Simply just follow the page, and you're going to see probably anywhere from 10 to 15 kids that are probably under the age of 12 that have killed bigger deer every year than what I've ever even gotten a shot at.
That's because of the time of the year for the deer. They're able to have them on a pattern like that where if dad is paying attention or mom or whoever.
The only reason I'm even saying that is just to show the amount of kids that have.
Yeah,
that really. I mean, I do think there's quite a few. That's just the ones
I
want to
make
posted.
sure that I'm clear here. I'm not saying to protect the big bucks for me or the neighbor or anyone else.
You're to make sure they carries on.
Mine is to say that I'm not even protecting the big buck. What I want to do is protect the integrity of hunting. And that is, I want them to be so excited about killing a deer that the next deer is attainable. Because when you have a kid that goes out and he kills a 200-inch deer, and we know of a kid that his first deer was over 200 inches, and he was passing everything that he was by the time you came along in high school. And it's like, what's the point in that? You know, I felt bad for him.
I remember who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
you do.
So what do you think?
I do.
Pyramid scheme.
What do you think some solutions would be to that? Or are there any?
I don't know. I don't know if a doe deal or something, you know, to that.
Like what
nature.
can you do? Like
There's nothing you.
I don't think there
What
is.
can you do about
think,
what? I didn't hear that.
I think it's
like
something.
in terms of that, is there anything you could do? Would you want to change anything, or would you just keep that the same?
We as parents
In terms of
need
youth
to,
season, being able to go
yeah,
out.
I think that has to be it's no different than the schools have changed apparently, and I don't have kids in school anymore. So, but the kids are getting away with all kinds of stuff. Again, that's a parent problem, you know. And so I think that the answer to it is not by the state law. You know, I don't think instilling something is necessarily where it needs to go to, but we have to stop once in a while and remember. I mean, I love taking these kids hunting, and when we take a new kid hunting, I want to be able to tell them you can shoot whatever you want because I don't know what's going to walk out.
We had a good buddy of ours take a kid this year for the first time, and he's heavily into managing his farms. You know, and he's all about making sure that his deer are he's only shooting old deer, whole bit, right? And he called me because we've taken lots of youth hunters, obviously, and asked me, he's like, where do you take these youth hunters? You know, he's like, because I'm afraid that one of my big 3-year-olds or whatever is going to walk out and he gets smoked. I said, I gar hole him. And he's like, what? I was like, I take them to places where I don't care what they shoot because I want the first buck that comes out, the first thing that gets their heart pumping, I want them to shoot it and be super excited about it, and I want to be excited about it with them. So when I say gar hole, I'm not saying that I take them to a bad spot. I'm taking them to a spot where I don't really care about the quality of the buck.
I get it.
And then he's like, okay, I think I have a spot where I can do that. And then he did that, and kid shot a little 4-point deer that he was absolutely stoked about, and it was perfect. You know, that's what I think your youth tag is the goal of it is to keep them excited
it's more of you have to handle it in-house. It's more of a family thing. It's a parent thing. You have to just make sure your kid shoots something.
There's no youth seasons in any of your guys' states around there?
I don't think it's in Jersey.
No, because, see, a lot of states don't have it because they start hunting
we
whenever.
start so early. We start September 7th.
There's no age limit. So youth season starts like
not even for turkeys or anything either?
No, Arkansas and Virginia. I could
start in September 1.
There is a youth season for us for birds, for pheasants. I know that, but I'm not sure anything else.
Yeah.
See, I think part of what I have that opinion for is because my first deer is a prime example. The fact that if I would have just been waiting for a certain specific deer or a certain caliber of deer because we're in Iowa, I would have had that chance. Because I had a deer come by that if he scores 60 inches, we're lucky. But I was freaking out. Warren grunted him in for me and everything, and I was super excited. I shot that deer, and not 30 minutes later, an absolute tank comes walking into the same exact spot at like 25 or 30 yards. And it was probably looking back on, I don't even remember, maybe 150.
Oh, he was probably pushing 160.
I mean, he was but he was gorgeous. Now, back then, I made the comment of, what are the chances of that? I can't believe this, all this crap, right? I'm 12. But I look back on it now, and I thank the Lord every day that I think about that thank God I did not get a chance at that deer, because the past couple of years, as I've matured some, I've understood why I love hunting as much as I do. And that why is only because of how I've done it to start and how you've allowed me to have that green light all the time. Because if I didn't have
been
that,
your biggest deer until 2 years ago.
Exactly. And I don't know if the fire that I have of how much I hunt right now would be there or still be there, because I would have already accomplished something, and to me it wasn't that hard to do. And right now, last year, I got my absolute butt whooped left and right trying to accomplish something, and I love that. I hated it in a moment, but I love it because you have the opportunity that you have the new thing. You have the something that you have to accomplish, and when you start at the top, where's the top now? And I think that as far as the sake of hunting, when I was at Pope and Young talking about it, not only are we trying to get new people involved, but we're trying to keep them involved. And I think that a lot of the kids that get the opportunity to shoot these 180, 200-inch deer 10 years down the road, why do they do that? They either are going to have that fire that they're going to want to keep hunting because they love the hunting that much, or they're going to get to the point of, I already kind of done it. Who cares if I go or not? Or I don't really care anymore. And maybe move on to something else.
Devil's advocate, though, maybe they won't. Because here's the only thing I'm going to say about that. I think that if you think about it this way, when you killed, Touch, who else? You killed some good deer.
The 10 at the house.
At the house and with Dad or with me or whoever. And then once you got older and you weren't a youth hunter anymore or a kid anymore, now you had this new desire to go do it on your own, right? And so now it wasn't necessarily about the size. It was about doing it yourself.
Yep.
And where I could relate that to is elk hunting. I know when I killed that bull in New Mexico, that little 5x5 bull I killed or whatever, that bull to me was a sign that I was capable of doing this myself. Because every other bull at that point, Dad had called in for me, and then I got a shot at him, right? So it wasn't like, hey, I've already killed an elk. I'm not interested in killing an elk now. And I still shot a small bull. And I was stoked about it because I was like, holy crap, I was able to take what Dad taught me, and then I was able to do this all on my own. I made every single decision. I made every single call, and then I did every single thing and killed this bull.
Yeah.
So maybe it wouldn't matter. Maybe the kid kills a 200-inch deer. But in 6 years, now he has that goal of, I'm going to do that without Dad's help or without my family's help. I'm going to have my own place. I'm going to go and I'm going to find this. I'm going to find this deer. I'm going to figure it out.
I see. I could 100% see that, but at the same time, for me, the timeline or the progression of my hunting has been kind of flipped. Like for those kids, I think it would maybe be like, hey, I want to do this on my own now. I want to see if I can do it, maybe do it again or do it this way or whatever, some new challenge. And for me, honestly, anybody that's listened to some of the stuff we've talked about maybe in the past year or so has probably heard me say something along the lines of, I've taken a break from hunting before. And when I've taken that break from hunting, it wasn't because I had accomplished everything. It wasn't because I had done this or that. It's because I wanted to know if I really liked it that much. And then when I came back is when I understood why I liked it as much as I did and started doing it again. And I don't think that necessarily, yes, I wanted to do it on my own. Yes, I wanted to have my own places and everything, but I don't think I ever stopped, in my opinion. Actually, I know I didn't ever stop because I was so accomplished. I never had that in the back of my head because, I'd killed, at that point would be 2 big deer, still in my opinion, 2 big deer. But there was also another 10 or 12 or whatever of does and forked horns or little basket racks with it too. So it wasn't I guess my point is that mine wasn't because, or not hunting wasn't because of something that I had accomplished. Mine was because I wanted to know why I wanted to hunt.
So you're agreeing though, really?
No, I'm saying I could see what you're saying about that, but in my circumstance, that's not the case.
Is what you're saying though is that you could have killed a 170-inch deer at 14 years old.
And I think my opinion would have been different, though.
It wouldn't have hindered your interest in trying to go and kill a 150-inch deer on your own.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is if I would have killed like a really, really big deer, like a 170, 180-inch deer, I think my thought process would have been, well, I've already kind of done it. I'm good.
I just come back to the fact that I don't think a kid can only appreciate so much when he only has so much experience.
That's my point.
And so, and I guess that's what I'm saying is that, I mean, there's states I've seen people I know people who have taken kids and killed deer at 6 years old, 4 years old. I mean, I just don't think that kid can really appreciate what he's done or what he's accomplished, what he's doing. I mean, it just doesn't make. I'm not saying not to take them. I'm not saying not to get them involved.
But at what age can they?
That's what I'm saying. They're at any age. Some of the states have no age requirement.
No, that's what I'm saying though. So what age?
What is it in Iowa? Between what age and what age do you have youth season? Like when can you start?
Up to
17.
17.
6, like
No,
how? Like,
I don't think. I don't.
but how
16, you
early
can't.
can they
16,
start?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a limit
I don't.
on it.
That's what I'm saying. I think
So you could be a 6-year-old out there, and
Yeah,
if
as long
you know
as
how
they
to shoot a
have somebody
350
with a
Legend, you
hunting
can shoot whatever you
license.
want.
Yeah.
And then when does it stop?
16. I
16.
believe 16. I think through 16 is why I was
I
saying
think
17.
so, yeah.
I think through 16 is still considered youth.
And it's
But-
how many weeks before your season starts? Like if you
Two.
so they get 2 weeks of youth season.
September
15th through
Wow.
up to October 1st.
1 is when we start.
And those yeah.
But they have to have a person with a hunting license
with
with them. Yep.
At what age, though, would you be able to state that a kid can recognize what he has or has not accomplished?
Can it's
There
it's
isn't.
based on the
That's-
individual
that's
I
kid
would
and
agree.
how he,
I
yeah,
mean,
you
there's
can't.
not a way of doing that, and that's why I'm saying it's not a law thing. It's something that we have to do as a parent. You know, it's like saying, when do you introduce the first cuss word to your kid?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
You know, that's up to the parent. That shouldn't be up to television. That shouldn't be up to social media or whatever. I should have the opportunity to do that myself. When I decide that my kids can hear the first cuss word, or if they're ever going to, or talk to them about sex, that's on me.
So
that
let's
shouldn't
throw,
be
let's
on
throw
the
a
school
really,
or
really
any-
random one in there then, a really tough one.
I like random.
So let's just say that you got a new youth hunter, and now you take this kid and let's just say Eddie. Eddie's kids ready to go hunting.
Eddie Jr.
Okay, Eddie Jr.'s ready to go hunting.
Okay.
And we're putting you in the fatherhood position for Eddie, just as a stand-in. Now is what happens is you go and you take him out to this spot where you're just going to let him shoot whatever, right? And a 180 walks out.
Shoot it. I'm
Okay.
going to tell him to shoot it. I know
Why
where
not tell him to pass?
because, I mean, I'm not going to take that. Kid's going to be excited. If it was a spike, he was going to be excited. That's not what I'm not. That's
But
what
now
I'm,
he's already at the top.
This
I'm-
is
I'm-
contradicting.
That's
This
why.
is
But
interesting.
that's why it's a rough one.
I'm not, no, I'm not
Interesting.
going to
There's no
manage.
answer to
I'm
it.
not
There's
gonna
no
teach-
answer to it.
I'm not
But
going
if
to
he
teach
passes-
a 4-year-old or 6-year-old management. That's what I'm saying. Is that we're
But
not.
he
this
can't
is-
appreciate it. Maybe you make him pass it,
I'll make
and
it.
then he shoots a
It
spike.
all depends where it is, because if it's on a piece of property that I own, I'm grabbing the gun for him because I don't want him to shoot it. Because I've never seen anything close to that size. So no, you're not. We're saving that for me. I just wouldn't let him do it. I wouldn't let him do it.
I'm going to make a bold
You wouldn't let him
statement.
do it?
I wouldn't let.
Okay.
him do it.
If I was,
I would teach him restraint.
I don't know. I've never been in this because I don't have a kid, obviously. But in my opinion, I would like to think that I would not let him shoot that deer and be banking on the fact that in 5, 6, 7, however many years, he'll look back on that and appreciate why I did that, because he's going to become a much more accomplished hunter anyways than that. And I don't want that deer to define it or let him feel defined by it.
It could go both ways.
But at the
depending on
same time,
case.
I'm tough one.
It goes
I'm
both
sitting there
ways.
thinking like,
I agree. I agree.
shoot as quick as you can now.
Okay.
Actually, I can say
But
that.
it
No,
does-
I screwed up.
But
I totally
do.
lied.
I do agree with your
Joey?
point. It
I
does
told him
take
to shoot.
Yeah, but
a
Joey's
good
also
amount of experience to
Joey
be able to truly appreciate something.
has the maturity
it
to be
just
able to make a
does.
full decision.
Yeah, but it was his
and you have,
first
and you
year.
have to make a decision where
Yeah,
that is.
But
And-
Joey made the decision.
And I'm just
That's
gonna
fair.
I'm just gonna tell the three of you, because I'm the only dad as living dad
Mm-hmm.
that's sitting here at this table. You aren't gonna be able to tell that kid no. You won't take a gun from him. You won't do
I don't
it.
know, man.
I'm telling you
That's
right
a rough
now.
one. That's a rough
It's
one.
like, you don't know New Jersey,
I know, I'm sure,
man.
because you'll be more excited as a dad
East
if he
Coast.
shot that deer.
Absolutely. And
And even if you never shoot a deer that size in your entire life, you're happy for the kid. I agree. It's hard to sit here now and say that, but I'm sure when he's in front of me and I look at his face and he's like, "Daddy, I want to shoot that." All right, go blast him. I'm not gonna go do it. You're not
I
gonna be
would
able to say
I would
no.
much rather
I wouldn't
have
be able
my
to say
kid
no.
tell me that than my kid look up at me and say, "I don't want to shoot that small buck."
Mm.
That now I feel like I've screwed up. I've delivered the wrong message, because you guys were all about shooting when you were young, and and even though I was already killing stuff and starting to manage myself, I was not going to put that on them. That was not what it was. We just need to try to find one that, a legal deer that you can shoot, and we'll be ready to rock and roll.
Well, even when we moved to Iowa, I just got lucky.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh man, you started killing." No, I got lucky because those ones came by first. You can ask Easton where I shot my deer out of the same exact stand that he did, and I was trying really hard to shoot one probably 25 inches smaller than that a few hours before, but he wouldn't come in.
So
You remember that deer?
No.
Yeah, I think that's
I can tell.
I think that's a huge topic.
Just shook my
I mean,
head.
I really do. And
One of the campers did bring that up to me. The young gentleman Keegan shot his first buck this year, and he's like, Ed, I shot the buck, and then a couple minutes later, a bigger one came by. Well, listen, I'm glad you shot the small one, because that one's going to grow back bigger next year, and you can come back and maybe get it bigger. So, but even the kids were thinking, I want their goal, even though they never shot a buck before, and he's been hunting for X amount of years, he wanted the biggest thing. I was like, listen, I'm happy you shot the small one.
Part of the
I'm happy
issue
you shot
is, we've talked about it a little bit, but it's us, 100% us. Actually, I wouldn't say 100%. I'd say a big portion is us, and I say us as in people like us, people that have a TV show, that are managing farms, that are doing this, posting social media things, as well as parenting. The same culprit, I guess you could say. But I think the issue with that is because that's what we're doing, because that's the stage that we're in with hunters. Because you two have been to certain stages in the past 4 or 5 years where I've still been the one sitting here shooting with the first thing that walks by. But they don't understand that, because when they're scrolling through social media, or they sees a TikTok where we have 10 of our biggest deer over the past 20 years on one thing, one, they don't understand the time frame of which those videos came from. Two, they don't understand that where we've come from, or where somebody that has a show or somebody that has a big following on social media has, or the amount of time that they've put in to find these deer, or the amount of work and effort and things like that. And so, as much as it's kind of a double-edged sword, because in my opinion, we're not doing the wrong thing whatsoever. We're doing what we're doing. We're trying to help people understand how we're doing it, the way we're doing it, and the things we're doing, and all sorts of stuff. But at the same time, simply posting that is almost wrong, because you're sitting, a kid's going to see it, but you're never going to be able to avoid that. So I guess I don't really have a point with that, besides the fact that we're to blame too, somewhat, with that. But I don't know how you fix it. I don't know how you help with it.
User discretion is advised. You have to use common sense, because at the same time, you got it. I think it's just as wrong. I think it's just as wrong, if not more wrong, for me or Dad or whoever to go and shoot a deer that we wouldn't be happy with, just to appease a social following.
I'm not talking about shots. I
know. I'm saying if I went out and shot a 130-inch 3-year-old right now, I would not be happy about that, and I'm not going to go and do that for a video, because that's not fair to that deer. Yeah. It's not fair to the animal, and so that's where people have to be able to use their own logic and understand that we came from the same place, and we try to share that as much as we can. Where we've all got lots of little animals, and I'm just as proud of those, if not more proud. I can tell you too, at this point, the deer that I'm the most proud of is not my biggest anymore.
No, he's just really big still.
Yes, he's still really big. But I'll tell you right now, if Magnum had been 200,
it wouldn't
I'd
matter.
Still be more proud of Bullwinkle than I was Magnum.
Yeah, I mean, mine's better, because I have a 130-inch deer that's my most proud one, and I've got a lot bigger ones.
I think it's more of a societal thing, like everything else. It's no different than we go to the gym and a little kid comes up to us. Oh, how do I get big like you? You got another 34 years to go before you get there. They don't realize the stages that you went to get there, and everyone wants instant gratification. They wanted to get it now. They don't realize it takes time, effort. You got to put in your hours. You got to put in your work to get there. So,
but I want to clarify, because you made the comment. Yes, I'm not going to go shoot a 130-inch deer. I agree with that statement. If you add this, I'm not going to go shoot a 130-inch deer in Iowa, because I don't need to. I know what my hunting. If I went to hunt with you, and a 130-inch deer walked out,
that's the biggest
I'm shooting
deer.
it. I understand. I would want to know, if I was going to hunt somewhere that I don't know, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kansas, somewhere or wherever.
I did that in Missouri 2 years ago.
Yeah, I want to know.
125-inch deer.
Yeah.
I was stoked.
Yep. And so it's all relative to where you live, and I hope that we're doing a good job in that we are changing the norm, because I agree with you, Easton. Television, and I think when you're saying we're the culprit, that's what you're referring to, is the TV portion of it. And we kill big stuff, and it goes on television, or it goes out on social media, and people see it, and they think that's all you ever do. You guys are just killing big stuff. The one thing I keep telling people is, for every 5 minutes you see of television, there was about 5 days of hunting that took us to acquire that footage. It just, we are so fortunate and so blessed to be given the time to spend out there, and that we're taking advantage of that time to have that many encounters to get to that point. The fact that we live in quite honestly, possibly the whitetail capital of the world, not just of the United States. Iowa is in southern Iowa specifically, where we live, is probably one of the best places to hunt whitetail deer in the entire world. And we're so fortunate to have that opportunity. If we didn't live here, if we lived in another state, and it would be relative to whatever that was.
Yep.
And so that's why some of these people that show us their pictures sometimes, and they always qualify, well, they're not as big as yours. Yes,
Who
they are.
cares?
Yes, they are.
Well,
Relatively,
they
are.
Yeah,
Take Brahma. If you look at Brahma, you killed him relatively quickly this year, right? Because you killed him October 24th or something like that. But yet, how many days did you hunt this year still before you killed Brahma?
No, probably 10 or 15 at
so
least.
You still had 15. If you're looked at it as you're going on a hunt to Iowa, that's over 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Waylon keeps telling me, when are you going to let me kill a big one? I said, when you take enough time. It doesn't. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, you can't come here for a week. I was like, I can put you in every spot that I was going to go and sit. I could do everything exactly the same. And I am telling you, there's only one thing that's going to give you a chance at killing one of the big ones, unless you get really lucky, is time. You need to give me 3 weeks. If you want a really good chance at killing one of the big dogs, you got to give me 3 weeks.
What is your argument for the outfitters out there that are bringing people in for a weekend still doing it successfully?
I don't think that a lot of them.
But that's the time that they have, though. People,
Well,
but they're not. They're not.
Well, I want the answer to that.
No,
They're not. There's not a lot of them. There's not
are-
a lot of them that are coming here and shooting 170 plus inch deer or 160 plus inch deer that are 5 years or older. There's not that many.
But
I
there,
think
but
that-
there
but
are
I think
some,
there is quite a few.
and what they're doing is
That-
hold on, because there is an answer to that. I believe there's 100% answer, and that is the outfitter is the guy spending the time,
Yeah.
and he's simply putting a different shooter
Yeah,
in
but
there.
we're
and it's-
spending that amount of time.
I understand that, but we're doing it for ourselves because we're hunting too. And so what happens is we don't have time to bring in 3 or 4 people and say, okay, I'm going to spend enough time to focus and find this deer, this deer, this deer, and this deer. You can't do that.
Well, that doesn't add up.
It does add up.
because
No, it
the
doesn't.
other thing too is instead
No, it
of us
doesn't,
sitting
'cause
in a
then
tree
otherwise-
stand, we're at a different farm scouting with our binoculars. Or
Absolutely.
Then we'd be able to kill all of our deer in 1 week.
That's not true.
No
Why do you
way.
think that?
That's
That's
because
what
you
I'm
just
saying.
said that. You're arguing that an outfitter, that people are coming on an outfitted hunt for 1 week and they're killing 170 some.
Sometimes they do.
100. Yeah,
A lot of
sometimes,
times
yes,
they
absolutely.
do.
A 5-year-old deer that's 160 plus, and his dad's argument now is that they are doing that because they're putting in the outfitter's putting that amount of time in to be able to go and do that and kill them a deer in a week. And you're saying that
he's giving them a better chance for
right,
sure.
but is what I'm saying then is if that's accurate, then every single year you should be killing your deer either between November 1st and November 5th
No.
or October 25th and
No, because it's got to be
October-
based on wherever that one deer is or what deer is.
So then you
when.
And
think
he's
that-
not going
you
in
think
that
that
stand
all of
until he
them
brings
he's
that
calling
person. No
them?
one's even in
Yeah.
that area until he brings in that person.
Right.
So that person has a better chance because it's untouched.
Yeah, but you still got to get that deer to do that during that time
You're
period.
not getting them to
And
do
I
anything,
guarantee
though.
there's a lot of people that go to outfitters and spend $4,000 or $5,000 and come home empty-handed. But that's
yeah,
just
but you
there's
also
no
have
guarantee.
outfitters here in Iowa, I think, that they'll let them shoot. They don't have an age restriction. They have a inch restriction, right? So it's 150 inch minimum. Where we have 3-year-olds that are 150 inch deer. Like if somebody wanted to come here and shoot a 150 inch 3-year-old, that we can do for sure in a week, almost every time. Like absolutely. But killing a mature deer and you start getting to 160 plus, right? That's not. I don't believe that there is that many that are doing that in a week.
And that's the difference. And that's what I agree with you in that the outfitter, if he made it an age structure that you could only shoot a 5-year-old deer, you just took 50% of his kills off the plate.
That's exactly what I'm
I've
saying.
seen some outfitters because I've looked at a ton of outfitters. I've seen some that have a restriction is you can't shoot a one of a certain size, like bigger. You have to shoot something under a 140, like underneath. If you shoot anything over, there's like a trophy penalty or some kind of charge that you have.
Pay
They
for
charge
a
you
different package. I know,
$700 dollars more if you shoot something
Right.
bigger. I think a lot of people that do that are
So-
just happy to be out hunting.
But I think
Don't
what
have a
that
lot of
does
time.
bring up a good point that for someone looking to go with an outfitter, there's two different mentalities. I've seen both. I've hunted at both, I think, for elk for sure. One is quantity, one is quality. And if you're going with the quantity one, then he's looking, meaning he's running as many hunters as he can. He has good deer, and they're getting killed. Someone's killing them because he's running enough hunters that eventually someone kills one. I'm looking for the guy that doesn't take as many hunters. So maybe instead of killing 25 bucks and we see 10 of them and they're 180, I'm looking for the guy that still killed 10, but he only took 15 hunters, through the whole course of the year, or 10 hunters, or maybe he only killed 5, but buck per hunter ratio is way better, and so you have a better chance at least having that opportunity. I mean, by far, I would rather go that way.
But that guy's also charging a lot more.
He's charging more.
He's charging a lot more.
And you
to do
probably
that.
get more time. Like
Possibly.
some of them have 10-day hunts.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of a realistic time frame to try to kill deer of that caliber.
But I've seen out 5-day hunts, 3-day hunts.
Oh, there's one right around here. They do 10-day hunts and stuff, and they have exclusive farms and stuff you can pay more for.
Those guys are
else
strictly
gets to
trophy
hunt that.
hunting. Then they're looking for the 170, 180 big one.
Yeah, and typically the client that's coming there he's already at that point. He's already killed X amount of deer, and he wants to kill. He's looking for the next level. And so that he's the guy that says, "Hey, I'll pay extra money to be able to hunt more days and stay." And I've seen hunters that do that. They come in and then they get there and now they're hooked. They see the buck that they're wanting, but they didn't get a shot at him. They go to the outfitter and say, "Look, can I pay to stay?" And next thing you know, there's a dude camped out at, it's like there was supposed to be 4 of us in camp. There's 6 because 2 more guys are down here and they're staying. It's okay.
I think we should do that at some point just because it'd be really interesting. We should go in and we should take the amount of days that it's taken us to kill deer that we were truly trying to kill, meaning one that when you say, I'm going to kill base drop, right, or I'm going to kill bullwinkle, or I'm going to kill straight up, any of those deer, and then we should take the amount of days hunted and we should average it and see how many days.
I don't want to do that. It's painful.
But I'll
bet you the average is 3 weeks.
It's a lot of days. I would agree with that.
And a full 21 days or more.
Someone like me from Jersey who's hunted a lot, like even last year, I had easily over 130 sits, and I've maybe seen in 130 sits, no lie, 10 bucks all year, maybe.
How many deer do you see all year?
Not a lot.
So I thought you said Jersey has got a ton of deer, though.
I know, but either they don't like Puerto Ricans, or I'm in the
racist deer,
or I'm in the wrong spot. So if I ever do an outfitter, like I want to enjoy the experience. I want to enjoy the clubhouse, the people, the talk, the conversations. And I want to shoot a good deer. I'm not expecting to shoot a 150. I want to go out, especially if I was a financial advisor again and only had a certain amount of time off. I had 1 week of the year to do that. I want to go and have a great experience. Shooting a deer is going to be a bonus. I'm not looking for the 160, 170, 180. If I shot a 130, I'd be happy. It was a great experience. It's a great time. So, and believe me,
you would be an ideal client.
No one would appreciate shooting a deer like that more than me. So.
And that's because it's been so difficult.
Hint.
It's been so difficult.
I got 4 points, guys.
It's so difficult. But I have a baby coming, so who knows? I'll probably have like 20 points by the time I come out here.
I don't know.
Because after I had to switch from righty to lefty, I told myself my goal was to shoot a Pope and Young deer lefty. So I haven't got there yet. It's been 17 years of hunting.
What's the biggest deer you've ever seen that you think in Jersey?
Hunting
wise, on the hoof. Dude, not that big.
You think you've seen a Pope and Young?
I've seen on the side of the road or in fields, yes.
When
I've been
hunting?
In my stand, nope.
Really? Not
one? Not one. Not one.
You get pictures of quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Of quite a few.
We might have some other problems here.
Damn anti-Puerto Rican deer.
I don't know what it is. I get pictures of a ton. I get in the woods and I get nothing. And listen, I'm not sure I don't shoot deer. I shoot deer, but there's nothing. When a decent one comes out, and when 120-inch or whatever deer comes out, it doesn't pass me, because at that point
that's a big deer.
But it's my 90th sit of the year, and it's just I'm so frustrated that I haven't seen anything.
Hold on though, because now this is really interesting. So you've never seen a Pope and Young deer?
Maybe while I'm in my stand, possibly. Once or twice, possibly.
Okay, but
one I missed.
But you kill 115 to 120-inch deer every year.
Yeah.
So you're killing the top 1% of bucks every year. You're no better than us. Meaning
he is as good as us.
That's what I'm saying, is that
based on what I have over there.
Is what I'm saying
absolutely.
is from the public eye, when people see us kill 160-inch deer, 70-inch deer, 80-inch deer, you're doing the same thing, but that's just what you have available.
I agree, because whenever I bring my deer,
because he's big.
Like whenever I bring my deer to, I use several butchers or taxidermists, or everyone's like, oh yeah, that's a great deer. That's a great deer. Even though if I brought that out here, they'd be like, why would you shoot that? But by me, that's a good deer.
Right.
So
that's cool. No, I think you're
Do
doing.
you have a deer that are over Pope and Young on camera every year?
every year.
Every year. And just
every year sleeping in front of my stand, around my stand at night,
sleeping around my stand.
They'll knock on my door and say, "Hey, it's nighttime." They're all over.
Nighttime.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But the thing is, like, I have several deer on state land, but there's so many people there. Like, so many people walking around, hiking, biking, and then at night I'll have these monsters come through on camera. It's just, but they know that during the day there's so much people activity.
They just stay nocturnal.
That they stay away.
I mean,
like even Big Boy, you're allowed to hike down there. You're allowed to, people drive their bikes down there, and there's bike trails and everything. He knows. And then he comes out at night, he waves at my camera, he frustrates my life, and then I go there and sit all day and see nothing. It's just, that's how a lot. That's how
my life more.
That's how the state lands are. There's so many big deer, but there's so many people and activities that they know where to hide, and they come out at night and they get on your camera.
Do you think it's any different on private out there?
Possibly. It all depends on what kind of pressure you put on them and what you have.
Because a couple guys out there killing like 140 deer every year, right?
But they're on special feeding programs. They feed their deer special food all year long, and they're constantly doing things, and they have certain. So I think one of the biggest difference in terms of like just geography in Jersey, I've heard you mention one person has like 1,000 acres and one person has this. I don't see a lot of that by me. Because there's
way too many.
Because there's so many people there that if someone has a piece of property, it's a 40-acre square, or it's a 55. I have one buddy of mine who recently bought a 100-acre piece, and that's like the biggest I've seen anyone have. There's all these little pieces with tons of human activity in between. So the deer they go from these little pieces to urbans. I'll see big deer. I'll always send you videos of 140, 150 deer sitting in front on someone's front lawn. And I get them all the time, but to get them through the places to where I hunt or the hardwoods, a lot of times it's hard because they have to travel through so much urban safety that a lot of them know they're safe and stay there. But they'll come out and I'll take pictures of them and I'll show you. I'm like, yeah, they're here, but they're hanging out in the pool, in the backyard.
I think the story we were talking about before we got on the podcast about the bear, that's a prime example.
Yep.
He had a bear coming every day.
Monster.
Good bear, and he was coming, and he was like, I know I got him. I know he's going to come here. First day of bear season, he's in a tree. 2 beagles come through. And some guys out there got little bells on his dogs, and he's hollering at his dogs, and then so he ends up talking to him, and the 2 beagles they were bird hunting. It was opening day of bird season as well. But because they could be doing what they were doing, they're like, oh, he tells them he's bear hunting. They're like, yeah, we saw a really good bear. But when he saw us, he went this way.
Yeah, he was walking toward me down his path, and these guys came with their dogs, and boom, he was out. And I didn't see him for like a month and a half on camera again. Because once he heard the dogs, he knows that every year, a certain time, the dogs run through there. Next week I came, I saw more dogs, and I was like, I stopped hunting because there's so many people.
Yeah.
Sounds like you just should move to a different state.
Yeah,
that sounds
I wouldn't be able
like
to tolerate that.
Yeah, I think out of my 100 and so sits, probably 80 were ruined by human activity. It was probably the most frustrating hunting season I've ever had. Like I hunted just real quick. I hunted a piece of state land by me. It was muzzleload season. I hiked and hiked and hiked, and I got to this place on a ridge with my climber, and I climbed up and I sat there, and there was no trails. I looked at my GPS. There's no trails around it. There are biking trails around, but I'm like in the middle. All of a sudden I look down. There's 4 little young kids walking right underneath me. And I'm like, and I look up the hill, and there's more people walking down. They were off the trail just walking through the woods, and they walk right by me. And I'm like, I'm done.
See, I wonder why they don't just try to make some kind of different, because a lot of the urban places here, during certain seasons, they're not allowed to have their dogs off of leashes. They're not allowed to be going off the trails.
And this was January. It was cold, and they were still walking through the woods, just off path, and walked by me. And I was like, my hunt's over.
That's unsafe too, though. At the same time,
I know. I had a muzzleloader right there, and they were walking underneath me.
Yeah, what if you didn't know they were
And one kid looked up to me, and I waved. And then did he turn around and walk back?
No, he
or
kept
say,
going.
I apologize, or tell the other person, oh, let's go that way. Nope. Kept on walking and just
In their
meandered.
defense, if they're
And then
not-
I don't even
and
understand.
They don't.
And then he stopped 100 yards, and they started talking. I'm sitting there, yo, what are you doing? And they just didn't. There was no courtesy or respect. They just took their time down. Just didn't
That's
care.
got to be a hunter to hunter kind of thing, though.
I think I'd be trying to knock on doors, and I know you're gonna say it's probably really hard, and I think I'd probably I would just prepare myself to knock on 200 to 300 doors, knowing that if I could get 3 or 4 pieces, that's probably better than dealing with that many people.
Well, hopefully my next step, obviously this year, I told you I joined the hunting club, so now I have 5 pieces of private that no one's allowed to hunt on. So hopefully I have some better luck there, because it's been frustrating hunting public land with all the activity. And we've been last year I think was abnormally warm, so people were out more active later, even into November, because the weather was warm.
You know what you should do? You should swing by like Dollar General or something. You got those out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Usually they have them out in the middle of nowhere here.
Yeah, we have Family Dollar.
Swing in there, get like a bunch of fruit snacks and stuff like that, and bait the people.
Keep them in a certain area while I hunt.
Yes.
Hang them on trees.
Yes.
Free beer.
You could even make a little like game out of it.
Listen,
like an adventure game where tomorrow there's going to be
Scavenger
snacks
hunts.
in this area. And you move them there, and then they're all looking for the
with
fruit
the type
snacks.
of people that are walking through the woods. Maybe I'll put some big coolers of Bud Light in corners and just let them
Roasted.
free Bud Light, and have them just sit in the
There you
corner and
go.
get drunk.
Perfect. Those ones should be
they'll be
really
easy
easy to entertain.
And they'll be on sale because no one's buying them. So I'll buy them in bulk.
Win, 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 win.
You just got to drop the ego when you walk out the door with all that Bud Light.
Oh, believe me, I'll be in my mask and my hair. No one will know it's me.
It's my people bait.
No, it's me.
See, maybe you're baiting the wrong ones. You gotta be baiting the people and keep them out of your way.
Yeah, I'll just drop them off in the parking lot so people park. Free Bud Light. Everyone stay here and have fun. I'll go to my stand.
I agree. I mean, like I said, I had a lot of that happen when I was younger, and immediately I was like, I can't deal with this.
It's hard. Because you spend so much time. It's just the preparation,
the
the
whole
time,
thing.
the effort. You get there and you drive a certain distance, and you're like, oh my God, it's just wasted.
Yep.
So and there's no what amazes me, even in states like Pennsylvania, there's no restrictions where they allow deer hunting, small game hunting, because I've had a lot of small game guys ruin my hunts too. Hunting small game and bird all at the same time. There's zero restrictions in terms of zones or locations. Like a bird hunter could be shooting pheasants there, and the small game guy could be running his dogs through there shooting rabbits, and I'm right here trying to deer hunt. And I've had that before, and I'm like, well, this is just a chaos. We're all doing it at the same time. No one, the only person really having success is the bird hunter.
I don't know how you guys don't have more people get shot.
Yet we do
Yeah.
every year.
Yep. All right. Well, anything else that anyone wanted to bring up? Otherwise, I think this was pretty cool. I think it was definitely a different perspective, remembering, for me, it was remembering these guys hearing what it's like compared to what we have. And I tell you,
I'd like to
it
go
tells
do
us-
it once just to go out there.
Listen,
I have no
I
desire.
don't think I want to go to the state land though.
our hunting season is lasts until about February 18th. More than happy when your season's over. I'll give you my address. We could go hunting January and February out there.
Well, I'm definitely coming January.
All right, then.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
he's gonna go shaking heads.
yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm gonna
They
go
probably
and
don't
pull on
shed
their
till a
antlers
little later.
every year.
When
Well,
did-
I'm just gonna be there until one does.
All right, that's fair.
all right. Well, guys, we want to thank you guys again for joining the Raised Hunting Podcast. This one was good. Eddie, thank you for joining us. We sure
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming out, helping with camp.
Yes, sir.
Good luck on even though, Mr. Gangster sign over here. Good
I
luck
agree.
with the new little one. That's going to be a lot of
I
fun.
appreciate
Well,
that.
hopefully we'll do it again
Yes,
after you have one and see what your thoughts are, especially
Yes.
when little Eddie does start hunting with you. So that'll be fun. But anyhow, I wanted to thank you guys. Do us a favor. Keep dropping the reviews. Keep letting us know, what's going on. If you got topics that you want us to cover, put them in. Let us know. Shoot us a message on social media or through our website. However, make sure you guys go to Hype Innovations and check out the new sticks that have hit the
Market.
hit the market. But I guess the other part of that is our scents I think I can.
Oh, yeah.
I think I can say that should have scents back in stock and ready for sale by. I'm gonna say July 4th, but I'm thinking it's gonna be earlier than that.
I think East and I talked about it too, so we're letting you know now. We're gonna do something where we'll let like podcast listeners and people that bought last year know first to make sure that
They get their stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, because
we're still gonna have a very hard time keeping it in.
well,
So,
we have so many people that have contacted us in May and June asking for scents already that we're anticipating a flood of sales. So it's all good. It's good. But we do appreciate you guys, and we want to make sure that the loyal listeners are taken care of first. So thank you guys. We sure appreciate you. This is the Raised Hunting Podcast signing off.